The snow that learned my name. The first time the snow whispered my name, I thought it was the wind. By the third time, I realized it was learning me. I moved to Black Hollow for silence. After my wife died, the city felt too loud, too alive. Black Hollow was a town so small it barely existed on maps. A scattering of cabins buried in white wilderness, a place where winter didn't visit. It ruled. The locals warned me. Don't go out after snowfall, the old woman at the gas station said, her eyes pale like frozen milk. Why? I asked. She leaned in close. Because the snow remembers footsteps. I laughed. I shouldn't have. That night, the storm came without clouds. The sky stayed clear and star-filled while snow poured down like the world was being erased. I stood at my cabin window, watching the ground vanish under white. Then I heard it. Ethan. Soft. Vet. Close. I turned. The room was empty. The next morning, my footprints led away from my door, but they didn't come back. Every day after that, new tracks appeared outside my cabin. They were mine. Same boot pattern, same stride, same slight drag on my left heel from an old injury. But I hadn't made them. The radio stopped working. The phone lines were dead. The town road vanished under drifts taller than my truck. And every night, the snow whispered more that it learned my memories. It repeated my wife's voice. It cried in my mother's tone. On the seventh night, I opened the door. Outside, the snow had shaped itself into me. It smiled with a mouth made of shadows. Come home, it said. I stepped out. The cabin door slammed behind me. I never found it again. Weeks later, hikers found fresh footprints in Black Hollow. They followed them to a cabin that didn't exist, and the snow whispered their names too. The frozen train at mile 0. The ticket in my hand was warm. That was the first thing I noticed. The platform was buried under ice so thick it looked like the world had been sealed inside a glass coffin. Yet the small square of paper between my fingers pulsed with heat, like a heartbeat that didn't belong to me. Printed in black ink were only 3 words. Midnight line, mile 0. No time, no seat number, no destination. Behind me, the station doors slammed shut on their own. The train that shouldn't exist. The train waited without making a sound. No engine hum, no hiss of steam, no echo of metal cooling in the cold. It was already there, a long, black shape carved out of shadow, its windows glowing faintly blue like frozen eyes staring into the night. I don't remember buying the ticket. I only remember standing in my apartment, staring at my reflection in the dark TV screen, and thinking, I can't stay here anymore. Then I was here. Snow fell straight down, slow and heavy, like the sky was lowering itself to bury me. The doors slid open. Warm air poured out, carrying the smell of old paper, cold iron, and something faintly sweet, like flowers left on a grave too long. I stepped inside. The doors closed behind me. The station vanished. The passengers, there were 6 of them. They sat perfectly still, spaced evenly across the car, hands folded in their laps like they were waiting for a photograph to be taken. None of them blinked. A woman in a red coat stared at the floor, her hair stiff with frost. A man in a business suit had ice crusted along his collar like he'd been caught in a blizzard indoors. A teenage boy hugged a backpack, so tightly his knuckles looked gray. I took a seat near the window. My breath fogged the glass. Theirs didn't. The train began to move. There was no lurch, no sense of acceleration. Just the sudden realization that the world outside was sliding past, a white blur of endless snowfields and crooked, skeletal trees. I checked my phone. No signal. No time. Just my reflection staring back at me, pale and warped in the glass at the conductor. He appeared halfway down the aisle without walking there. That's the only way I can describe it. One moment, the space was empty. The next, he was standing between the seats, tall and thin, dressed in a dark uniform dusted with frost like he'd been standing in a snowstorm for years. His face was cracked, not wrinkled, cracked, like ice over deep water. He tipped his hat to me. "Ticket," he said. I handed it over. His fingers burned cold when they touched mine, like grabbing metal in winter. He studied the paper, then smiled. I heard the sound before I saw it, the faint, brittle noise of ice breaking. "Mile 0, he said softly. "You're right on time." "Where is Mile 0? I asked. He handed the ticket back. "Where it always is." Then he moved on. The passengers didn't react, didn't breathe, didn't blink. The window whirled. Hours passed, or minutes. Time felt wrong on the midnight line, like it had been folded in half and stitched back together badly. Outside, the landscape never changed. Snow, trees, dark sky, moon that never moved. I pressed my forehead to the glass. For a moment, I thought I saw something out there. Tall shapes moving between the trees, keeping pace with the train. Watching, then the reflection of my own face shifted. It smiled. I didn't. I jerked back, heart hammering. The boy across from me tilted his head slightly, like he'd heard something interesting. The stop. The train screamed. That's the only word for it. Metal shrieked against metal, a sound so loud it felt like it was ripping through my teeth and into my skull. We stopped. The lights flickered. The conductor walked down the aisle, tapping the top of each seat with a baton made of something clear and frosted, like a shard of ice pulled from a lake. "Talp! Talp! Talp!" He stopped beside me. "This is your stop," he said. "No, Evropia. You said Mile 0. This isn't anything." He leaned down until his cracked face was inches from mine. "This," he whispered, "is where winter keeps what it steals. The platform of ice." The doors opened. Cold didn't rush in. It crawled. It slid over my skin, down my throat, into my lungs, like the air itself was trying to live inside me. Outside was a platform made of perfectly clear ice. Beneath it, people, hundreds of them, frozen mid-scream, faces twisted in terror, mouths open, hands reaching upward, trapped just inches below the surface like insects in amber. A sign stood crooked in the snow. "Welcome back." A woman grabbed my arm. Her touch burned. "I got on this train in 1987, she whispered. "It shows you something you want. Then it brings you here. What is this place?" I asked. Her lips trembled. "Mile 0, she said. "The beginning of the end. Or the end of the beginning. I don't think it knows the difference." The conductor blew his whistle. The other passengers stood. One by one, they stepped off the platform. The ice opened beneath their feet like water and closed over their heads. The run. I ran. The platform stretched longer than it should have, like the distance itself was being pulled away from me. The cold followed. I felt hands in the wind, fingers in the snow, breath against the back of my neck that wasn't my own. Voices whisper my name. Not one voice. Many, all layered together, all familiar. My mother, my brother, my own voice. I tripped. The ice cracked beneath my palms. Below me, a face opened its eyes. It was mine. It smiled. I screamed. The truth of the train. I don't know how I got back inside. One moment I was falling. The next I was in a seat. The train was moving again. The passengers were gone. The car was full, not with people, with shadows shaped like people. The conductor stood at the front, his back to me. "Why me?" I asked. He turned slowly. "Because you were already halfway here," he said. "You just needed a ride." "What does that mean?" He tapped my chest. "Some people carry Mile 0 inside them. Regret, grief, guilt, cold places. The train just finds them. The windows filled with faces, frozen, screaming, watching. One day," he added, "you'll help me find the others." The new roll. The train slowed. A new station appeared. A young man stood on the platform, shivering, holding a warm ticket. He looked exactly like I must have looked. The conductor handed me a dark coat. It felt heavy. "Belmano." "Go on," he said. "Your shift starts now." I stepped into the aisle. My breath didn't fog anymore. The doors opened. Warm air rushed in. The boy stepped aboard. He looked at me. "Is this the midnight line?" he asked. I smiled. I heard ice crack in my face. "Yes," I said. "You're right on time." Somewhere, deep beneath the ice at Mile 0, A new face opened its eyes, and it was still screaming. Thanks for listening to my story. If you enjoy original horror stories, subscribe to Abhii's Midnight Stories. A new nightmare every week.